When someone hands you a user manual for a piece of municipal software, your brain probably it does an immediate hard reset.
Oh, absolutely. It's like buying a new refrigerator, right?
Right. You pull out that thick stapled booklet, you look at the complex diagrams of the ice maker, and your eyes just completely glaze over.
You toss it in a drawer and you just sort of hope for the best.
Exactly. And today's source material has a title that, honestly, at first glance, sounds like an absolute cure for insomnia.
It really does.
It's the Cache County Parcel and Zoning Viewer. Just saying the words zoning viewer user guide feels heavy. But stick with me here, because what we're going to do today is take that dry, highly technical manual and show you that it's actually a digital treasure map.
It is. It really is a fascinating document when you understand what it actually represents. I mean, in an era of just absolute information overload, a tool like this is incredibly empowering.
Empowering how? Exactly.
Well, it takes these invisible legal boundaries. Zoning laws, historical land data, property lines, the kind of stuff that normally requires a physical trip down to the county courthouse to see.
Right, the stuff no one wants to actually go do.
Exactly. And it transforms all of that into something highly visual and entirely actionable. It genuinely levels the playing field for everyday citizens, home buyers, developers, you name it.
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We are going to equip you with the tools to uncover the hidden secrets of local land, real estate, and development right from your web browser.
And we're going to do it without you feeling completely overwhelmed by a mountain of raw, unfiltered data.
Exactly. We're going to decode the map.
I think that's the perfect approach, because before you can find the treasure, or, well, in this case, the crucial property data, you really have to know how to pilot the map.
Right. If you drop into a complex geographic system without a compass, you are just going to get lost. So let's set the stage with navigation and layers. The guide outlines some basic controls that feel pretty standard. You've got your zoom in and zoom out, but then there's the home button. And I actually found myself appreciating this feature immensely.
Oh, yeah, it's a lifesaver.
It really is. If you've ever gotten hopelessly lost panning around a digital map, maybe you zoomed way too far into some random empty field and lost your bearings hitting home, instantly resets your view to the full default extent of the county.
It functions basically as a panic button for when you get lost in the digital weeds. It's an essential safety net for user experience.
Definitely.
And right next to that, you have the My Location feature, which taps into your device's GPS to center the map exactly where you are standing in the physical world.
Which is super handy if you're out looking at a property.
Right. Plus, there's the navigation history tool, just those simple left and right arrows. It lets you effortlessly flip back and forth between your previous map views.
So if you were comparing two different neighborhoods on opposite sides of the county, you don't have to manually zoom out, pan across, and zoom back in every single time.
Exactly. It saves so much time.
Which actually brings up a question I had about saving those locations. The viewer has a bookmarks feature, right?
It does, yes.
Okay, so the guide mentions preset bookmarks that jump instantly to specific cities and towns in the county. But it also lets you create custom ones.
Right.
So hypothetically, could I just bookmark 3 or 4 dream properties I'm keeping an eye on and, just come back to them next year when I'm ready to buy?
Well, you have to be careful there.
Oh, why is that?
That's a very common assumption, but there is an important technical distinction here. The preset city bookmarks, those are baked into the county system, but your custom bookmarks,
Yeah.
those persist only until you clear your browser cache.
Wait, really?
Yeah. They live locally on your specific machine, not on the county's servers. So if you do a routine clearing of your web browser's history and cache, or, if you switch to a different laptop, those custom saved spots will vanish entirely.
Oh, wow. Okay, that is crucial to know. Note to self. Do not rely on the viewer as a permanent filing cabinet for your real estate dreams.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's talk about what we're actually looking at on the screen. We have the base map widget and the layer widget.
Right, the core visuals.
The base map widget lets you swap out the underlying map. You can flip from a standard illustrated topographic view to high-resolution satellite imagery provided by ESRI.
Which is great for getting a real feel for the terrain.
But the layer widget is where things get really deep. It's a searchable list of all the available map layers, And as I was reading through this section, it instantly reminded me of remember those transparent anatomy pages in old encyclopedias?
Oh man, yes, the ones where you flip the clear plastic page and it overlays the muscular system on top of the skeleton.
Yes, and then the nervous system on top of that.
Exactly that.
So you start with the base map, which is like the skin of the county,
Hmm.
and then you use the layer widget to peel back the skin or, add layers on top to see the veins and bones underneath.
That's a great way to think about it.
You can turn on the utility lines, the school district boundaries, the flood zones, the specific zoning districts. But as I was imagining all this, it occurred to me that if you turn all those layers on at once, the screen is just going to look like a massive, unreadable plate of digital spaghetti.
Oh, it absolutely would. Which is precisely why layer management matters so much in this tool.
How do you manage it then?
Well, if you click the three dots icon next to any layer in the widget, you get the ability to adjust its transparency or set its specific visibility ranges.
Oh, that's smart.
Right. What's fascinating here is that giving the user control over transparency isn't just an aesthetic choice by the software developers, it's a cognitive one. It actively prevents visual clutter.
So you could, like, fade a bright yellow commercial zoning layer down to maybe 50% transparency.
Exactly. And then you can still clearly see the satellite imagery of the actual trees and houses underneath it. It allows you to focus strictly on the data you need without being blinded by the data you don't.
That makes perfect sense.
And of course, there is a dynamic legend that updates continuously to decode the symbology, the specific colors and icons for whatever layers you currently have turned on.
Okay, so we know how to pilot the map. We know how to fade layers to avoid cognitive overload. We can see the skeleton of the county. But how do we find exactly what we're looking for?
That's the next logical step.
Right, because if I want to research a specific plot of land, I need to transition from just passively viewing this beautiful map to actively hunting.
And the viewer gives you a very robust set of tools for that hunt. It really moves you from passive observation to active investigation. It starts with the enhanced search feature.
Now, looking at the parameters for the enhanced search, I was actually a bit surprised by how granular this gets.
It's extremely detailed.
Yeah, you aren't just typing in a street address like you would on a standard GPS app on your phone. You can search parcels by the official tax ID, the current owner's name, the exact acreage, the year the building was built.
You can even search by total square footage or the specific land and building type.
It's wild. You can search for entire subdivisions by name. There's also a master addressing layer to pinpoint specific recognized addresses. And then there's a search function specifically for annexation history.
Which is huge.
Yeah, you can search by description, city, or entry number. Why is that annexation history so important?
Well, that history is a vital piece of the puzzle for a prospective buyer. If you are looking at a property on the edge of town, knowing exactly when and how that piece of land was absorbed into a municipality tells you a lot.
Like what?
Like what kind of city services you are entitled to, and crucially, what kind of city taxes you're going to pay versus county taxes.
Oh, right. That makes a lot of sense. Nobody wants a surprise tax bill.
Exactly.
And as you run all these different searches, the guide explains something called the results management tool that essentially lets you corral all this incoming data.
All right. You don't just lose your previous searches.
Exactly. You can create new result sets, append new findings to existing ones, or just selectively remove specific items from your previous searches. You are basically building a custom dossier right there in the viewer.
Furthermore, if you want to look at the raw numbers behind the map, you can open the attribute table for any enabled layer.
The attribute table.
Yeah. Think of the attribute table as peeking at the matrix code behind the visuals. Instead of looking at a colored shape on a map, you are looking at rows and columns of pure hard data regarding that specific parcel.
Okay, but here is where my mind was kind of blown and where I actually need you to decipher some jargon for me.
Sure, lay it on me.
There's a tool called Add Data. This allows you to bring in external information. You can search ArcGIS online, enter a web URL, or physically upload your own files.
Right.
The manual lists these file types: sheet files, CSVs, KML, GPX, or GeoJSON files. Honestly, it started to sound like a bowl of alphabet soup.
I can completely understand that.
I mean, I know what a CSV is. It's basically just a standard spreadsheet. But why would I, as an average user, or even a typical developer, ever need to upload a KML or GPX file to a county zoning map?
It does sound highly technical, but let's break down why this is actually one of the most powerful features in the entire tool.
Hmm.
You are essentially taking outside reality and integrating it into the county's official sandbox.
Okay, I'm listening.
Let's take a shapefile, for instance. A shapefile is the industry standard format that professional cartographers and land surveyors use to draw precise geographic boundaries. If you hired a surveyor to map out a potential subdivision, they would hand you a shapefile.
Okay, so I can upload the surveyor's file directly onto the county map to see how it aligns with existing infrastructure. That makes sense. What about a GPX file?
What's fascinating here is the real-world application for an everyday person. A GPX file is the standard format for GPS data. By overlaying your personal ground-level data onto the macro-level official map, you bridge the gap between what you experienced in the real world and what legally exists on paper.
That is incredible. So we've found the property, we've investigated its history, we've overlaid our own physical hike to see the real borders.
Right.
But finding the property is one thing. Figuring out what you can actually do with it is where the stakes get high. We need to move from finding data to analyzing legality. And this brings us to what I like to call the heavy hitters, the analysis tools and the legal landmines.
And the most prominent of those analysis tools is the Parcel Summary tool.
Right. You click on a parcel, and this tool generates a comprehensive report based on Cache County's specific zoning requirements.
It gives you an initial review of the parcel's legality and flags any layers that might impact your ability to develop the land.
But the guide highlights a massive, bolded caveat here. And it feels like a digital tripwire. It states that parcels modified after August 8, 2006 require an additional review by the planning department to confirm they are actually eligible for development.
Yes. That specific date is tied to Cache County Ordinance 2018-09, which went into effect on August 28, 2018.
But I have to push back on this because if I'm a user, this feels like a glaring roadblock.
How so?
Well, if I am looking at a parcel and I see it was subdivided or modified in, say, 2007, the map doesn't just give me a green light, it flags it and forces me to go talk to a human at the planning department anyway. Why the extra step? I thought this map was supposed to give me all the answers so I wouldn't have to go to City Hall.
It's a very fair frustration to have, especially when you're using a tool designed for efficiency. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to realize zoning rules are not static. They evolve constantly.
Okay, true.
Decades ago, property lines were sometimes redrawn with handshake deals or rudimentary surveys that simply don't meet modern development codes. Before that 2018 ordinance, the process for determining if a modified parcel was legally a developable lot was incredibly complex, time-consuming, and honestly, somewhat subjective.
So the county just needed to draw a line in the sand.
Exactly. They needed a firm cutoff point to streamline and clarify the legality process for both residents and developers. Anything modified after August 8, 2006 falls under a different set of modern scrutiny.
Got it.
The viewer is powerful, but it knows its own legal limits. It can definitively tell you the boundary changed in 2007, but it legally cannot promise you that the 2007 change meets today's strict building codes without a human planner verifying the context.
It's managing expectations. It gives you the history, but leaves the final legal blessing to the experts. That is a critical landmine to know about before you buy a piece of land, thinking you can just start digging a foundation tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of building things and dealing with local laws, we have to talk about the mailing list widget.
Oh, this is arguably one of the most practical labor-saving tools in the entire suite.
It really seems like it.
Yeah.
You input one or more tax IDs, and then you set a buffer distance up to 1,000 feet around the property. The viewer then instantly generates a CSV file of all the property owners within that buffer, perfectly formatted for a mail merge.
Think about the practical reality of why this exists.
Okay.
Listener, imagine waking up to the sound of heavy machinery, looking out your window, and realizing your neighbor is building a massive 3-story commercial garage right on your shared property line.
That sounds like a nightmare.
The only reason you didn't know is because no one told you. Local laws almost always require developers or homeowners to formally notify their adjoining neighbors if they are applying for a zoning variance or a conditional use permit. This prevents those kinds of neighborly wars.
But historically, doing that notification was a nightmare.
A total nightmare. It meant taking a half day off work, going down to the county assessor's office, pulling physical plat maps, drawing a radius by hand with a literal compass, and painstakingly writing down the names and mailing addresses of every single property owner that fell inside that circle.
Wow.
It was hours, sometimes days, of manual labor. This widget does it in 3 seconds. It instantly creates the exact legally required mailing list you need to notify your neighbors.
It's a massive time saver. And just to round out the analysis tools, there are also measurement tools.
Right. Very straightforward, but very useful.
You can quickly calculate total area if you're wondering how big a specific field is, or measure the exact distance from a roadway to a proposed building site.
There is also a coordinate conversion tool where you can click anywhere on the map and see the exact coordinates in several different geographical systems.
Which is vital if you were trying to match up old historical deeds with modern GPS systems, I imagine.
Precisely. So you've gathered all this incredible specific data.
Right. We've analyzed zoning. We've checked our crucial 2006 legality dates. We've even generated the 1,000-foot mailing list to survey the neighbors.
But how do we take all of this out of the digital world and bring it into the real world?
Exactly. Listener, if you actually have to walk into a town hall meeting or sit down with a contractor, what are you bringing with you? You can't just bring your laptop and point at the screen.
That is where the customization and output features come into play. You need to take the raw county data and make your mark on it.
And you do that with the Draw widget. You can add your own custom graphics directly onto the map. But you aren't just dropping a simple pin.
Far from it.
You can draw lines, polygons, points, and add text notes. You can enable measurement labels for the shapes you draw. I just picture an architect marking up a blueprint before handing it to the city planner.
It's very much like that.
You're using a polygon to trace the exact footprint of a proposed barn to visually prove that it clears the required property setbacks. You're mapping on exactly where the new driveway goes.
And once you have your architectural plan drawn up digitally like that, you use the print widget to export it.
You can export your current map view, including all your custom drawings, as a PDF or an image file. And it's not just limited to standard 8.5 by 11 printer paper.
No. You have options for professional large format sizes like tabloid and A3.
The formatting includes a legend and a scale bar, right?
It does, which is vital because if we connect this to the bigger picture of how municipal government works, presentation absolutely matters.
I can imagine. Does the printout actually look professional enough for an official meeting, or is it just going to look like a messy screenshot from my browser?
Oh, it looks highly professional. When you hand a document like that to a planning commissioner, a highly professional output changes the tone of the entire conversation. It shows you have done your homework.
Right.
However, there is a very large caveat we must address here.
The fine print.
The essential fine print. It brings us to the final features in the guide. The info widget, which answers common system questions, and the absolutely critical disclaimer.
The disclaimer outlines the strict data limitations and legal terms of use.
So
Right?
practically.
So if I print out this beautiful, highly accurate A3 map with my custom polygons, I can't just take it to my concrete contractor and say, the county map says the property line is here, pour the foundation.
Absolutely not. Do not do that.
Good to know.
While your printout will look incredibly professional and it is a phenomenal guide for preliminary planning and discussion, it is not a substitute for a final, legally binding, professional land survey.
Okay, so it's a starting point.
Right. The lines on this viewer are highly accurate representations, but they are not the legal boundaries themselves. The earth shifts. Historical markers degrade. If you are pouring concrete or putting up a permanent fence, you do not rely on a PDF you printed from a web browser. You hire a licensed surveyor.
It gets you 90% of the way there. It perfectly prepares you for the initial meeting, but you still have to hire the professionals before you start digging.
Exactly. It's a tool for highly informed preparation, not final execution.
So let's recap this journey we've been on. We started with a document title that sounded like a bureaucratic sleeping pill, but we found a genuine treasure map.
We really did.
Listener, you now know how to pilot the viewer, utilizing the home button to avoid panic, and seamlessly fading layers to avoid cognitive overload.
You know how to actively hunt through parcel histories and annexation dates.
You know how to ground truth the map by bringing in your own smartwatch GPS data. Most importantly, you know to watch out for that August 8, 2006 digital tripwire regarding parcel legality.
And finally, you know how to draw up your architectural plans and print out a professional, customized map for your next project.
It really is a remarkable transformation of how we interact with civic data.
It democratizes information that used to be locked away in filing cabinets.
It changes everything. For you listening to this, understanding these specific tools transforms you. You stop being a passive observer who has to wait in a frustrating line at a county office, and you become a highly informed citizen or savvy developer.
You completely bypass the typical information overload because you know exactly which layers to turn on and which ones to fade out.
Exactly.
And, as you use these tools to look outward at the county, it's worth taking a moment to look inward as well.
What do you mean by that?
Well, this raises an important question to leave you with.
Okay.
If this much incredibly detailed data from the exact square footage of a building and the year it was built, to the owner's name, the precise annexation history, and the 1,000-foot proximity of every neighbor, if all of that is available with just a few clicks for anyone looking at Cache County, yeah.
What kind of digital footprint does your own property leave on your local county servers? And who might be looking at your parcel right now?